Hello again, folks. It's Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair, and this is sort of the third of three videos that are loosely based upon the subject of contact cleaners. And in a couple previous videos, I explained that most of your high-end contact cleaners I will not use for various reasons. But this would be the most convincing of all arguments to prove my choice of contact cleaners. What I'm doing right now is I am, as soon as I can find it, the camera, I am currently servicing my Yamaha 40 channel mixer. This is the mixer that I use when I run sound for bands. I've had it for about 10 years. It's been remarkably reliable. You can see my cat Einstein below the thing. She's kind of keeping an eye on it for me. And it's starting to get a little bit noisy. I'm starting to have to use a different channel once in a great while if I get a guitar cutting out in the middle of a song or stuff like that. So it was time to drag it out and do the preventive maintenance on it. And so this is a 40 channel mixer, and it's a pretty big long thing. It's about 6 feet long, and it's what I use to run sound. Everything that the band puts out goes through this, and sometimes when I play, I sing through this unit myself. And there's Einstein again. Alrighty, so one thing I'll point out here is you can see my little red pointer here. I'm going all across the bottom row of volume faders. Those are the sliders that we use to adjust the individual channel volumes. And one thing you might notice is that right here, you don't see those faders, and you don't see any knobs sticking out. And the reason for that is because I currently have that module out on my bench to service that part of it. So now I'm going to need to, please bear with me for a moment. I need to reposition this camera. I still haven't. I've got a 32 camera system in my video setup, but I still have not gotten around to aiming all of them and fitting them with the proper lenses. So for right now, I'm just going to have to move this camera where I need it, and I'm not used to this tripod either, so that might take me a little figure out how to tilt this thing properly. So just bear with me for a moment. And alrighty, okay, there we are. Now there is the module from that mixer that I'm working on right now. Of course, we're going to have to get a better focus and all that cool stuff. Okay, got a little bit too much light, so I'll turn down the iris a little bit just for you guys. Once I get back on the bench, close to my controls. All right, get our macro ring adjusted here. That's not too bad, I guess. Okay, improve our focus just a touch. Maybe back off just a bit, like that. All righty, and now ready to come over here and turn down the iris just a bit so that we can see what we're doing there. There's a little bit too much light. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so this is the panel that I currently have removed from the mixer. The mixer has 5 of these. These are this particular set of boards is for channels 9 through 16. And there's 5 modules like this in that board. Plus, there's a master control panel, which is even bigger than this. And so now, what I'm doing on this is there's no circuit failures. The mixer's working fine, but the controls and switches are getting a little bit noisy and intermittent. And a lot of them, don't get used that much, so they tend to collect dust and get stuck in one place. So just a brief rundown here. These are the individual channel volume faders, that you see along the bottom of that board there. Nice long travel there for precise adjustments. And then you've got just a heck of a large row of push button switches. These are push on, push off switches. And they're getting to the point now where they're not only getting a little bit noisy, but once in a while, because of the grease and gunk that have built up over the years, you can push it down and sometimes it won't come back up. So in the middle of a song is a bad time for this to happen. So at any rate, okay, what we've got here is we've got a total of about I think it's 144 rotary controls. These two boards can actually be separated. It's just easier for me to work with them together. These are all our rotary controls. These are just your basic counterclockwise, clockwise controls, and then we've got a bunch of more switches up here. Pretty much everywhere you turn, you've got some push button switches. And so The point that I'm making here is that my service is all about long-term reliability, and in fact, I will turn down certain jobs if it threatens my long-term reliability. Like if a customer insists on keeping an old beat-up radio all original on the inside and he wants me to use used parts, I will not do that simply because that's not the kind of service I perform. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with other shops doing it, but I really take great pride in my warranty return rate of less than 1%, and I also have proof of that performance from my last day job right here on my website. So you got just a buttload of rotary controls. They're not the most expensive ones because naturally they need to squeeze a bunch of them onto the mixer panel, and you got a bunch of these switches, and basically all the switches, all the sliders, and all the rotary controls, and all of the input and output jacks on the back have to stay clean and maintain good contact. So it was just time to take this mixer apart and do a thorough, preventive maintenance on it. And here's a few interesting facts that I gleaned from this thing. This mixer has a total of 757 rotary controls, 63 slide controls, for a total of 1,818 controls and switches. And then now on the rear panel we have 238 jacks that connect to your various inputs and outputs. So then those of course need to be serviced and kept clean too. So the total number of items that I have to service on this thing is 2,056. And that is just a staggering number of, and you talk about some tedious work. I'm pulling knobs off of this thing. It hasn't been serviced in 10 years. It's been out in the elements. It's been stored in garages and bounced around on tour buses and everything else. And some of these knobs I had to pull off, using quite a bit of force. A couple of times I even had to use a tool to pry the knobs off. And so at this point, this is module number 4 that I'm doing. I've already done 3 of these, so by this time my wrists and hands are just gone. I mean, there's no strength left in my hands from grabbing and pulling on these knobs all the time. So at any rate, and I did a little bit of research. I had to order a few parts from Yamaha. I had a couple of missing knobs and stuff like that, and it just occurred to me, what would it cost me, like for instance, if I could have gotten a really good deal on this mixer, but it didn't have any knobs on it or anymore. Like if somebody was using, its knobs to fix other products and stuff like that, what would I need to spend to completely outfit this thing with knobs? And the total, if I order them from Yamaha to replace just the knobs on the top of this mixer, $1,714.42 before taxes and shipping. So we're just talking about some staggering numbers with this thing. So at any rate, the main point that I'm making here is this is going to be probably 3 full days, everything said and done, to clean all these controls and switches, get it hooked, get it all connected back together, all put back together, and it's not something that I'm going to want to do again anytime soon. I want this thing to go, another 10 years without any trouble coming from the controls. And so because of that, again, I will only use WD-40 with something like this. Your high-end cleaners, their big claim is that they leave no residue, and my question to that is why? We're talking moving parts that need to stay lubricated and they need to stay clean, at least for the most part. And to me, using a contact cleaner that leaves no residue is pretty close to using some kind of oil in your car that won't leave any kind of oily residue on your cylinder walls. I mean, you got to have lubrication. There's no point, these cleaners like Deoxit and Blue Showers and even this little can of Radio Shack cleaner I've got here. I haven't really tried the Radio Shack stuff simply because they don't sell things in wholesale prices and wholesale, quantities. This is your basic little thing that a hobbyist would buy, and I tend to buy stuff in larger quantities because this is a business and I go through quite a bit of it. So haven't really tried this stuff, but I did a quick spray on it and it came out. Look at that. It's got a foamy appearance to it, and I didn't like that. I have no idea why I had to foam up like that, but I just don't like the idea of putting foamy stuff in my controls on this mixer that at one time cost a little over $6,400. Its current going rate right now is about $1,000. But at any rate, I want to keep it, working nicely for the next several years, and so I will only use a contact cleaner that has shown over the years that it's going to stay in place, it's going to remain moist, it's going to keep cleaning and lubricating, until everything else around it evaporates. But this WD-40, it's going to stay, it's going to stay moist, and it's going to keep doing its job. And I've had units out there, 8-track units out there for about 10 years now. So far, I have not had one single call from a customer saying that, hey, my controls are noisy, after you service my unit. In a lot of cases, since this stuff is 40, 50 years old and it's been sitting in warehouses and garages and stuff, the controls get badly oxidized, they get a bunch of crap in them, and sometimes when I get them in, the controls are so dirty that they won't even pass the signal. They'll, once in a great while, you'll get a little hint of a signal in there. Clean them with WD-40, wipe them back and forth a few times, and they're good as new again. So that was the main point that I was trying to make. On a humorous note here, all these knobs, I'm only doing one module at a time, because that's quite a bit to keep track of right there as far as pulling the knobs off. The knobs are different colors, they go in different places and stuff like that. And plus, all these push switches, I got to pull those knobs off also, so I can get my cleaner in there to the actual switch. So there's quite a bit of work involved in this thing. I don't want to have to do this job again anytime soon, and that's why I will only use WD-40 for this type of thing. I've worked in avionics. I was a top-level avionics technician for 5 years at Cobham Aerospace here in Prescott, Arizona, and they had the best of the best stuff, or what they thought was the best of the best. They had, Blue Showers, Deoxid, every contact cleaner on the market that you can think of, they stocked it. But I would only keep WD-40 at my bench. And interesting also is that none of the stuff that I worked for them, none of the stuff that I fixed for Cobham ever came back with noisy controls either. So I go by experience, and I go by what I know works. And so it's only going to be WD-40 on my prized mixer, my 40-channel mixer, which has 1,800 knobs and switches just on the top, and a total of 2,056 surfaces that need to be serviced and kept clean and made to work reliably again. So that's quite a daunting task. As far as the labor end of things go, it doesn't take any real brains to do it, but it is quite a daunting task to do this much work. And frankly, I'm getting kind of sick of looking at these boards, and I've got, I think, 3 more to go, at least 2 more to go, or maybe one and a half more to go, because there's one more of these. Then there's the master control section, which is about a little bit wider than this section is. So that's all I'm going to use. That's all I ever use in any application that requires contact cleaner. The only thing I will use is what has proven to me to be reliable over the long haul, and that's WD-40. So on that happy note, or maybe not such a happy note, because now I have to tear this thing apart further and brush all the dust off of it, go over it with alcohol to get this grime and grease off of the control shafts that somehow sneak in there from the concert venues. And of course, you have the occasional moron that comes by, stumbling by, and spills his beer into my board. So there's going to be a little bit of that also. So, but at any rate, okay, I've talked your ear off enough about this. I think I've driven my point home well enough, and so I'm going to get on out of here. This is Barry with Barry's 8-Track and Classic Car Radio Repair, and I normally don't do a whole lot of work on mixers and high-end, band equipment, but, once in a while it's necessary because it's stuff that I use. So, if you have an 8-track player, either for home or for car use that's in need of service, you can reach me directly at 928-533-9666. My website is in the description below. And one final little bit of humor here is that to keep track of these knobs, I'm only doing one panel at a time, more or less, and I'm putting the knobs into a little into a bowl here. And when I was dropping these knobs into the bowl, my cat kept coming up and sniffing the bowl. She thinks this is a bowl of cat food. So pretty doggone cute. Okay, I love you so much. That's I guess that's why I love you, because you're such a character. Got your own little personality. Alrighty, folks. Needless to say, I also perform FM conversions on classic car AM radios with the additional possibilities of adding Bluetooth, USB reader, auxiliary input, and sometimes we can even double the number of FM station presets on Delco radios. So you can look me up for those reasons also. Thanks very much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.